this clip. On the 12th of September. And I don't have the headscarf over my head right now, but I'm not showing my hair. Hopefully this is still conservative enough for some people to watch. I've been tortured all night. The horrible thing is that this country has done this to me for years. They've brutally, violently tortured me for years. Sometimes giving me a few hours in a day at most of not being tortured. And other times giving me maybe a week for some reason where they don't torture me as much. But they've been violently torturing me. Since 1995. And pretty much almost every day, full blown torture, literally painful, excruciating, completely disabling torture. It has nothing to do with any mental state, and it has nothing to do with any kind of a physical problem. They put microchips in my body and metal, and they've targeted me with them. This country has completely ruined my life. There's nothing redeeming about it, anything they've done. I'm going to talk about what they've done to me since I was a kid, before I finish talking about the FBI and things that began to unfold in 2004 and 2005. It's either military or CIA, and most likely it's a combination of both, because one of my earliest memories as a child is from LSD hallucination. my hand on my face because they've been torturing me to this side of my ear and my neck. And the tooth filling implant I've talked about before, all night, off and on all night. So, as I was saying, one of my earliest memories as a child was of an LSD acid trip. And my parents don't use drugs at all. They don't use them recreationally. They never have. They don't even use drugs that you can use legally, like alcohol. And I was born in 1974. The CIA was still doing experimental research with drugs, even though they claimed that their MKUltra programs were over in 1975. And that was a lie. When I hallucinated, I just remember I was a little girl. I went to bed, and all of a sudden I started seeing bugs all over the walls, on all 4 of my walls, and they were all moving, and they were kind of coming back and forth like 3D in a way, but mainly just covering the walls and moving all over the place. And then I thought I had bugs crawling on me. And it happened one time that I had that experience. It wasn't a vision. It wasn't mental illness. I wasn't mentally ill as a child. And it exactly fits the description for LSD acid trip. My mother and father were home at the time. I didn't get out of bed. I just waited until I don't think I felt like I could move, and then I finally fell asleep. If it happened other times, on other occasions, I don't remember. But I remember that one time, and it's not a recovered memory. I've always remembered it. And I just never said anything to anyone about it, because first I didn't know what it was from, and I didn't want to talk about it. And then when I was in my early 20s, I realized it fit the description for acid trip. I started questioning why in the world I had an acid trip. And it came from the family I came from, which was pretty conservative. So the other thing that was going on is I had different babysitters babysitting me. Some of them were hypnotizing me and trying to hypnotize me, which is also not typical. And on the one occasion where I recalled exactly what the woman had done to try to hypnotize me, my parents didn't have her back to babysit. However, it was possibly just because I remembered. When I had my woman's first gynecological examination, I did it when I was still a virgin. It was in 1987, and I did it just because I thought I was supposed to. I thought every woman did, even if they were not sexually active. And I heard about my friends talked about it all the time. I was 24 years old, and I'd never had one before. I'd never gone in for whatever this thing was that my friends were, I heard them talking about, a pap exam, or female gynecological exam. So I thought, well, I better make sure I'm normal. I mean, I felt normal. But that's why I went. The first male doctor I went to wouldn't see me. He said, if you're a virgin, I don't need to see you at all. And I didn't understand why he said that to me. well, how does he know for sure that I'm fine? I mean, I just didn't realize that you can't contract a lot of the different problems that come up if you've never been sexually active, so I didn't understand his reasoning. And when I then went to another gynecologist, and it was a woman, and in some ways I didn't think she was very respectful, because I told her to stop with the speculum. I was a virgin, I didn't realize it was going to hurt like that. I mean, I don't know what I expected. I just thought they were going to look or something. I didn't think they were going to use some sort of instrument and do all this stuff. So, kind of lost my virginity to that, in a sense, in a technical sense. And she was wiping up the floor, and then she resumed her exam. However, I do think that that doctor was honest, possibly, and I do think that she knew what she was talking about, because first of all, she said that my pelvis was slightly narrow in one regard, and that I was an automatic C-section. She was very correct about that, and other OBGYNs and midwives did not listen, and they should have, and it could have prevented a lot of damage to both me and my son in childbirth. The other thing that she said was, the main thing she said, was she just was very quiet and shocked, and she said, you're the victim of a sexual assault. Or she said, that there's some evidence here that you were assaulted when you were a child. And I said, no. And asked why she would say that. And she said that there was old scarring that appeared to go back to probably when I was a child, toddler, very young, and she said it was very bad damage, scarring and things. And I just said, not that I know of, and I didn't have any memory, and I've never had any recovered memory of anything like that. But I think it must have happened when I was a lot younger, and I went to a counselor later. Her name was Brett McDonald, and about something else, and I did bring that up to her in 2005. And she said, well, if you don't remember it, then I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't concern yourself with wondering if it is true or not. It's best to just think that it's not true. So I thought, well, that's fine. I'd rather not think about it anyway. But given some of the things that this country has done to me, and the ways that they've used me for research, and how they've tortured me, and taken my son and tortured him in front of my face, I've seen evidence of hypnosis being done to my son, which is what they did to me when I was a child. I've seen him come in looking drugged, which would also match things that they did to me as a child. And really the only groups that do that kind of thing to children, when it's not part of a family pattern or habit or basis, the only groups that do that are the CIA and the military, intelligence for mind control or programming techniques, and other kinds of projects. So when I first recognized what had been done to me by this country in 1985, I kind of thought, I did have a situation where I was sort of an assassination attempt before 1995. But then in 1995, I had a surgery. Someone tried to roll my car, hijacked it basically, refused to stop, refused to turn over the wheel to me.